Hey, everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. This is our session, which is titled Leveraging PlayPosit for Non-Instructional Use. I do want to talk about this title because I was prepping for our webinar today. I was like, you know what? I feel like this title doesn't quite capture how I want to talk about this session, which is really like getting to leverage PlayPosit for all kinds of uses that can be outside of the traditional academic space. So we're going to be talking about how you can use PlayPosit to really scale your impact in for student orientation or advising, right? Like student services, career services, library. It has so many different applications. And so when I say non-instructional use, really we're just talking about use outside of that academic space. I hope that clears it up a little bit. Of course, we love PlayPosit for its instructional capabilities. So we want you to use it for instruction, but we want you to realize that it also can be leveraged outside of the classroom space. So I'll go ahead and formally introduce myself. I'm Stephanie Gates. I'm a PlayPosit customer success manager and have been fortunate to be here for a couple of years. And previous to being in this role, I was an instructor using PlayPosit in the classroom. And so I love to be able to share what I learned or have learned in both spaces. So feel free to reach out to us when you have questions throughout the session and after the session. So you can put your questions into the chat. You can also reach out to success@wevideo.com following the session if you have any questions. I also have a resource guide for you all today, and I'm going to put the link in the chat for you all now, and I'll talk a little bit about what is included as well. So in this handout, what you're going to find is some resources related to different learning management systems that integrate with PlayPosit. So we'll be talking a little bit about learning management system workflows, as well as how to use PlayPosit outside of a learning management system, which is often really helpful when we're talking about using it for outside of that traditional academic use case. I also have linked a few examples that I'm going to run through with you all, information about accessibility, and then just some more general PlayPosit resources as well, which I'll walk through as we get towards the end. So we'll start out with just an overall view of PlayPosit, what the platform is and how you can leverage it, as well as a few different use cases. We'll look at how you can use it inside learning management systems, because for some of y'all, that is definitely an option. And for some, it might be more useful to bypass the learning management system and use just assign things straight from PlayPosit. We'll look at the data and analytics that you can collect, as well as resources that you can use moving forward. So let's start with that PlayPosit overview here. I'm also going to turn off my camera just to save a little bit of bandwidth. But hopefully you all can still hear me okay. So PlayPosit is, I like to think about it like an interactivity suite. You can use it as a layer on top of lots of different video hosting services. If you have a PlayPosit license, you're going to be able to use YouTube. You're going to use Vimeo videos and stream those through. And I also have an integration with a different private video hosts. Maybe that's something like Kaltura or Panopto or another one that your institution is using. And so what really you get to do is stream that video through PlayPosit and layer on different kinds of interactivity and activities along with that video. So that could be different question types. It can be resources like PDFs, links. You can also just collect that information so that you can better inform decisions moving forward. Something I love about PlayPosit is that it's very, how do I say that? It has a long shelf life. You can edit it after the fact, because we know as you move forward into different semesters and different needs, that content will need to evolve over time. So that's something that's great about it, is you can always go back, edit those interactions that are included. You can even swap out the video later on and replace it if needed. So it has a very long shelf life. You can adjust it moving forward. So that's what we mean by modularity here. And lots of advanced opportunities. So PlayPosit can be really as simple as you want it to be, or you can use it in a very advanced way, like for branch learning, for instance. And you're going to hear me refer to the word bulb. And whenever you hear me use this word, it's really referring to that end product of when you stream a video through PlayPosit and add interactivity. So you can think about it like a light bulb if that's helpful. It's just illuminating that learning process. And there are a few different ways that you can use PlayPosit as well. I would say by far the most common use case are instructors and admin using PlayPosit as a self-paced learning activity. You can also use it live. So synchronous lessons might want to have an interactive video that is a shared experience for learners. So that's kind of acting like a live audience response system in that way. PlayPosit also has another application. This is something that your institution might have access to called a playlist. And in this playlist, you can incorporate multiple bulbs if you want to and other resources to create like a sequential learning activity. And then finally, there is an individual submission where you can kind of flip the script and have learners create that interactive video, that bulb. So a few different ways you can use it. I have some examples that I'm going to be sharing with you in just a little bit. Some of them are going to be the self-paced bulb. Some of them are going to be playlists as well. And some foundational benefits that you and your learners will get by using PlayPosit are things like added accountability. So you can disable fast forwarding and skipping. You can really ensure that learners are taking that content in. There are accessibility features as well. So you can have interactive and searchable transcripts. You get those closed captions streamed in with the video, screen reader compatible as well. And then, of course, that added content digestion. So learners are getting to pause with that video and interact with questions, activities, additional resources, all things that will help them to grasp that concept more fully. I would say in academics, often the things that I see PlayPosit used for are things like skills practice, interactive video lectures, flipped learning. And so some of these things still apply outside of academics, right? Like if you're thinking or contemplating about using PlayPosit for like new hire training, right? Things like this are still really relevant. Having the opportunity to practice skills, getting to watch those meetings, right? Those video recordings, maybe and have questions along the way. Or flipping the meetings that you have where you're getting that main memo ahead of time and then being able to come to your live meeting and ask more in-depth questions. So let's take a look at a few different areas at your institution where you can leverage this. Things like student services, staff development, that faculty training. You can also use it for marketing or alumni relations as well. Ways to get the word out there, have learners take tours. You can also use it for things like career services where they're maybe practicing interviewing or their resume writing. And library. So really, I like to think about this as any time where you have a need to scale your resources, where you need to get the word out there, have people really engaged with your video content is a fabulous opportunity to use PlayPosit. So let's take a look at some examples here. I'm going to start off with this training and onboarding. I feel like this is the one that I most often see when we're talking about using PlayPosit outside of academics. So this can be for new hire training. This can also be for TA training, tutor training, right? There's so many concepts that need to be repeated over and over and over again when you get those new hires or new people into that role. And so it's something that you can put in a more effort in the front end, right? But really benefit as you get to continue this, to use this bulb or playlist, right? Time after time. Let me enlarge this example for us here. So this is an example of a Zoom training, for example. We can give our new hires some exposure to different tools in our tech stack, give them resources to lean on as they move forward into needing to use these skills. So what I want to highlight in this example most of all is that you can ask questions along the way. You can also make this a very personalized learning experience. You can have automated feedback, and even in that feedback, you can have resources linked or included. Here we see that there's another way that you can personalize this learning experience based on maybe what previous knowledge or exposure they've had to this content before. So like in this example, if they've already had a Zoom account before, they have a little bit of information about how to use it, they can click that button and be jumped past some more of that introductory material into things that might be just pertaining to your institution. So skip the general Zoom overview, go right into the nitty-gritty of how your institution uses it. You can have tons of linked resources along the way, along with that video overview. I know some institutions are using this specifically for that tutor onboarding, right? They have so many tutors that come through, and so they need to give them really a quick crash course on different tools they might need or logistics they need to make sure they handle before starting tutoring. Another use case is going to be for marketing or orientation. So in this example, you're going to see really one of my favorite things, which is using YouTube 360 videos as part of orientation. But you can, of course, apply this concept to just regular video as well. We're going to see a quick tour of campus along with different checkpoints. So they can actually use this table of contents to navigate to different topics and locations across the campus. I'm going to pull this a little bit farther along so we can see a little bit more. We have lots of different interactions popping up. Some of them can be on the sidebar. Some of them can be overlaying the video as well. So there's a lot of flexibility. You can even use this tool to have learners submit questions. So it's nice, like communication tool in that way. Here's again for that tutoring or academic services. We'll see an example here of just onboarding learners in this new role. So we can give information like, here is who you can contact. Here are the things that we need to make sure we put in place to make sure you're ready to get rolling. Expectations, all those kinds of materials or resources, handouts they need to make sure they have handy. Also, like consider using this for library because there's so much information and so many services that library offers that this can be a great way to get the word out there about all those things that learners have access to. So they can get a tour of the library. They can get some interactive questions along the way, make sure that people are getting the concepts. You can also better inform, like, hey, do we need to make improvements to the bulb based on if people are able to answer those questions. I've also seen lots of bulbs out there of like how to use or how to do research at the library, right? That's a common topic that needs to be reviewed with learners. So why not give them access to that in a bulb? As you can see, this bulb here has tons of interactions along the way. All those little dots there indicating different interactions that they can come up against or resources that are going to be provided. All right, I have one more for you, and this is our demonstration of the playlist. I wanted to give you a little bit of taste of how this could look in that playlist format as well. So let me open this up a little bit bigger. So this is an example of just a health and wellness playlist, but this can be applied to so many topics, of course. But what I wanted to show you about a little bit about the difference between that regular bulb and the playlist is basically in this sidebar. So one bulb is indicated by a little triangle within the circle in the sidebar. And then there can be other resources weaved throughout as well. So any other icons in here are going to be other resources. You can have things like PDFs, documents, websites. We have another one that's just like being able to add in rich text. So you can put in directions, expectations, just tips along the way. So you'll also notice that there are some modules. So it's almost like a light learning management system in that way, where you can really break up the learning into different sections. One of my other favorite things about this is you can impact, or you can kind of decide on the level of accountability you want in this playlist. So this could be just like a choice board where they can pick and choose what sections they want to engage with along the way, or you can lock the progression, which they need to start at the top and work their way through. So if you're using it like a traditional training, right, they'd want to start at the top, and you can even have minimum completion scores as they work their way through. So you're really making sure that they are grasping the content before they move on. Playlists can also have certificates and badges associated. So really a great option to think about for some of those really important topics that you need to make sure there's a high success rate for. All right, I think that we should hop into this next portion, which is just talking about using PlayPosit in a learning management system such as Canvas, Blackboard, D2L Brightspace, versus outside of that learning management system, in which case it would be directly from PlayPosit. So there are some benefits to doing both spaces. So for example, if you're using one of those learning management systems like Canvas, for example, and your audience is going to have access to that learning management system, then great. I think it's awesome to be able to integrate PlayPosit into that space, because it makes your life a little bit easier in terms of learner authentication and instructor authentication, and you get immediate gradebook pass back, things like that. If your learners don't have easy access to that learning management system, like maybe they're a new hire and they haven't even been given LMS credentials yet, you might consider assigning them a bulb, even about that learning management system, like getting started in that space, so they get a little bit of a head start. Other times, you might be thinking about using PlayPosit for faculty or for staff potentially that don't even have LMS credentials. Again, then it would make sense to use it in PlayPosit. Or your institution might not even have a learning management system in place. So I'll show you both workflows and how you can make it work for you. Let's start with this learning management system. I'll give you a glimpse into how PlayPosit integrates with Canvas It's very similar for the other learning management systems as well. And if you want to know how PlayPosit integrates with your specific LMS at your institution, I've linked in these knowledge base articles and video tutorials for each one. So if you're using Schoology, for example, feel free to check out this knowledge base article and video tutorial. Again, I'm going to go through this Canvas workflow because that's one of our most commonly used LMSs. And so if I was assigning a new hire training, for example, I would want to come in here to the assignments and add a new assignment. You can use PlayPosit in other locations that's not assignments, such as your discussions, your pages, your quizzes, and your modules. But the things are, modules as well. But the thing to note about these other locations, like pages and discussions, for example, is that you don't get that immediate gradebook pass back. So assignments is one of those locations that's going to let you have that. So let's say we have this new hire training, for example. We'll give this a title. Maybe this is even like part 1 of a series of different trainings. If I don't need a grade associated in a gradebook for this, I can use PlayPosit within the little plug icon in this rich text editor. So I just click the little drop down here. I would find PlayPosit in my list of tools and use it that way. Again, this won't give you that immediate gradebook pass back, which sometimes can be really helpful. Maybe you don't want it associated with the final grade. If you do want that automatic gradebook syncing between PlayPosit and Canvas, then you'll go to the submission type. Make sure this is on external tool, and then you can click find. And again, find PlayPosit within your list of tool options. So from there, you get to either hit enter or set link. And if you're wondering, like, I don't even have a PlayPosit account yet that I know of, but I know my institution has it set up, you can have your account created just by going through the workflow for your LMS. So for example, if I had never touched PlayPosit before, I could just enter PlayPosit or set the link, and I would immediately be provisioned an account that's associated with my institution. So from here, if you already have bulbs ready or playlists ready in your account, you can just select the Canvas icon next to the title of the bulb or the playlist that you want to use. And you can link that to your account. To your assignment, excuse me. If you're getting ready to create content for the first time, or you need to create something new, you'll go through the workflow of just adding a new bulb. So you get to stream that video through, add some interactions along the way, and then assign it to your Canvas or other LMS assignment. So just to demonstrate this, I'll go ahead and select my Canvas icon and link it to my assignment. So then you can make sure all of the other things are set up, like your point values, your due dates, and then you can save and publish. And from your view as the instructor for this activity, you'll be able to hop in here and monitor those live results for learners. From that learner point of view, I'll give you a quick flip over to the other side here. They're just going to see this activity embedded right there in the Canvas assignment. So they don't have to navigate anywhere else. They just hit play and get going. They can expand this into a larger window, but it's really nice that it's a one-stop shop. They have that interactive activity right here within Canvas. Once they complete the bulb, then you as the instructor get to benefit from seeing all the data and analytics. Because I don't have data in this particular assignment, because we just assigned this, I'll show you a little sneak peek of another one that I have that does have a little bit of data associated. So you'll be able to see the student names along the left-hand side, not just your test students, but their first and last name. You'll also be able to see the associated score and how long it took them to complete, or if they've been in progress for a while. It'll also tell you if somebody hasn't started the activity yet. And then along the right-hand side, you'll see all the different interactions that were associated with this bulb. So I've got this one student here with a few submissions along the way. I can see they've gotten a couple of correct, one incorrect here. One of my favorite locations in this monitor page, because we have very busy lives, it's hard to look at. Maybe if you have like 100 learners in this activity, it's a lot of information to look through and digest. So I always prefer to look at the bulb analytics to see how learners are doing across the board. So I can see if they're doing, if they're getting things correct or incorrect. I can also see the average score and the completion status. I also find it really helpful too for things like trainings, especially to be able to have this data export. So you can export data even past what you're seeing here. So it's very detailed. You can see like timestamps for when they took different interactions. You'll be able to see, here's another cool thing. For a bulb, you can allow learners to take a bulb multiple times. So you can allow multiple attempts. In this monitor page, you're only going to be able to see their latest attempt, but you can do this data export and see all of their attempts over time. So you can see how they might be progressing as they've gone through each attempt. You'll also have different controls in here, like if you just click on a learner name, you can view just that specific learner's attempt. You can see also this printable report of all of their answers. You can also do things like reset. So it's helpful from this managerial perspective. So that's kind of the Canvas or LMS overview of how this works together, right? Some perks here. Of course, the learners are automatically going to authenticate, and then you get to see their data and analytics easy within this Canvas frame. If you are thinking like maybe it would be more helpful to just do it right from PlayPosit, maybe, just like your audience really isn't in your learning management system, or you don't have a learning management system, it might be more helpful to just assign this content right from PlayPosit. So I'll go over to my PlayPosit account here and show you, like maybe I have this bulb, this leadership strategies bulb that I want to assign. I can actually have a PlayPosit class associated here. So maybe I'm going to be having this new hire training. Nice thing is you don't actually have to put people in this class ahead of time. You can just have like a shell folder that we're going to assign to. So let's say we're going to assign this to that new hire class. I just click on the little thumbnail here and find where it says assign. Then we can assign it here. And this due date is really like a soft due date. It's not going to lock them out if they try to access it after this date. That might be helpful just from a managerial perspective to kind of have like a soft date to aim for. And then we can link it. One cool thing about assigning it in PlayPosit is, say you have some, like you want to be able to provide this to a really wide audience and they're not going to have PlayPosit accounts, right? Like maybe you're hoping to embed a bulb on a website or a playlist on a website and just be able to get the word out there to people, right? Like maybe you have that health and wellness playlist in a wellness website. You don't want learners to have to log into PlayPosit in that case. Something really cool in these settings is that you can not require that login. In this case, they are going to just enter a first and last name if you want that to be collected in the data in that monitor page. If the first name, last name isn't a need for you to collect, then you can actually toggle on this do not require learner name, in which case they just get to the bulb or the playlist, they can press play and be off running. In the monitor page, it shows up as anonymous. So you still get to collect information as to how many people are taking this bulb or playlist, what they're getting correct or incorrect, or maybe the questions they're asking along the way. But you just don't have a name associated. So say this is the configuration that we wanted. We can copy this link and share this out. We can also use this QR code. We can even grab an embed code. So lots of different ways that you can have this displayed out to the world. All right, I think we talked a little bit about this data and analytics. So we're going to move on to a few resources that you can leverage as you move forward. We have a whole website called our customer resource page. So this is actually linked within the handout here. Here's our resource page. You can click here to access it. You can also get to it right from your PlayPosit website. So in your customer resources tab here in that left panel, that will open this whole resource hub. A few things that I want to point out to you, depending on what kind of learner you are, what things you like to engage with, we have some on-demand video tutorials. So for example, if you want more information, for example, about how to learn PlayPosit in a specific LMS or directly within PlayPosit without an LMS, if you select one of those, you'll have a whole series of videos that'll help you get going, like from start to finish, adding videos, getting those interactions in there, and even how to monitor analytics. Look at that. We even give you a little badge at the end. We have lots of webinars, of course, and thank you for joining this one today. We have a use case library you're also welcome to check out. This is categorized here, so you might look for example, professional learning and see what kinds of examples we have listed here in the professional learning site. There's a whole carousel of different ideas and offerings. Some of these even have links to copy the bulbs right into your account. So if you see an example that you want to play around with and see maybe like how it's put together and how it's built, you could copy it into your account and then edit it. So feel free to check out all these different ideas. Again, some of them have those links, some of them don't, but you can still peruse. And then we have tons of help articles. We even have instructional design office hours. So if this is helpful for just kind of getting the wheels turning, but you want a little bit of hand holding or someone just to ask questions in real time as you're building out a bulb, feel free to join our team on Tuesdays or Thursdays. So there are half an hour sessions that you can join just by clicking this link here. Wonderful. And heading back to our handout, you're welcome to view any of these use cases that we reviewed together. You can view the whole thing if you want to, not just my little snippets, and share them out with others that might be interested as well. Last resource I'll share with you is that we have a YouTube tutorial page. And some of us might even be joining from YouTube today. If you are, thank you so much. But this YouTube page, I will try to grab this link and pop it into the chat for you all. Has so many great short tutorials that you can check out. Oh, thank you for adding it in there, my helpers. So many great tutorials to help you out on different topics. So enjoy. All right. Thank you guys for joining today. Please, again, reach out if you have any questions. We're always here to help. If you want to just chat more about how to make this possible at your institution, let us know. Thank you all and take care.